Hello, it's good to see you all. I am Dr. Julie Allig, aka the Data Diva, coming to you on Friday afternoon here from lovely New Hampshire in the northeast of the United States. Welcome back to those of you who have watched before. Hello to those of you who are maybe new here or who are catching the replay. It's good to see you. I'm here every Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, US Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific, except next week, I will have the week off. I am taking a long weekend, going to have a little bit of fun. And so I will see you all back here in 2 weeks on March 8th. You can watch these replays over on my YouTube channel. You can also catch them here on LinkedIn. So let's get started. Today, I wanted to talk about what comes next. So many of my clients come to me with a question about, listen, I have a CPA, I have an accountant, I have a bookkeeper, I know what my cash flow balance is, I know what my P&L is, but I've got these kind of CEO level questions. What is making a difference in my business? Where are my pockets of opportunity in my business? And how do I find them? As you all know, one of the ways that I talk about doing that is by looking at your data. So, taking, in many cases, much the same data that your accountant or your CFO or your CPA has analyzed using their techniques and their tools, and I analyze it slightly differently using statistics, using machine learning, using lots of other fun tools to figure out what are the patterns, what are the trends going on in your data, what are the associations going on among this product and that product, between this group of customers and that group of customers. And so usually, the end of an engagement with one of my clients is something like, okay, here is what we're seeing. This is what the data supports. And here are some recommendations for going forward. What happens next? And I thought of this because I am working with one or two clients right now in particular where it's not just finding those patterns, projecting out, monitoring, that sort of thing. That's the important thing for them. So now that we have these, what do we do about it? And so I wanted to talk about that today in terms of a case study. And because those of you who know me know that I am very into my coffee, I am going to choose to talk about today. Let's imagine a mid market coffee specialty store chain. And I'm going to call it BrewBright Coffee. Try saying that 3 times fast. They have got, let's say, they've got a loyal customer following out in the Midwest of the US. Their monthly revenue is always in the black. They've got some strong customer loyalty, and they've just rolled out a new line of seasonal drinks. Sounds good. Now, they hired me to take a look because what happened is they have expansion plans. They want to grow into the Western US, and they're going to need some capital infusion for this. Pretty typical. Their bankers, though, balked at this because they pointed out your revenue has plateaued. It's still strong, it's still in the black, but it's plateaued. Something is going on, and your growth has just paused. Before we loan you any money, to build more, to expand more. We want to figure out that we want to be assured that you've figured out what the heck is going on and you can deal with it. So they came to me. They were like, wait a minute. So our revenue, like he said, like the banking team said, it's plateaued. What do we do? We had a couple of years of really good growth, and now all of a sudden it's nothing. We figured out that actually what was going on was an increasing number of their customers were not returning. So they were bringing in new customers, okay? Especially attracted by those specialty drinks, think gingerbread lattes, think that sort of stuff, but they weren't keeping them. And so this was news to them. This might even be news to you once you look at your numbers because their top line numbers were looking steady, but looking just at the total number each week, which is what they were looking at, the total number each week, and not looking below the surface, they were missing that churn. And now they wanted to find out why. So I had been able to go in, show them that this is what's going on. You've got basically a customer attrition problem. You've got a lot of churn. You're obviously attracting a certain piece of the market, and this is good. However, they're not staying. The fear among the senior team was not just that they were going to start losing some of those newly attracted customers, but that they were going to start losing some of their loyal customers. And again, this was pretty scary, obviously, because they didn't know what was causing these new customers to go away, to not be retained. So there was a threat. In this case, what I wanted to talk through with them was okay, so how are we going to stop the losses? And that was their main questionnaire. How do we stop the losses? And I said, we can do a number of things, but honestly, since the losses seem to be connected to your customers and not retaining them, we need to talk to your customers. And I'm using the word talk loosely there. We need to gather information from your customers. And one tool for doing that is to survey them. And so survey them for the reasons that they didn't re-engage with you, that they didn't repurchase some of those coffee drinks that originally brought them, something like that. So they agreed this was a good idea, but where do you even get started doing a survey? And believe me, as a resident here in the United States, there are a lot of surveys out there that get thrown around that are not very good. So even if what you want to do is, oh, I do a survey, the kind I just got from my healthcare provider, from some other company, take your pick, there's a good chance it's not all that good or that it's got certain details in it that makes it not quite suitable for your company's needs right now. So, what I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that, believe it or not, I know you're going to be surprised here. There are people who write dissertations on surveys and survey methodology and things like that. And survey design, survey methodology is its own subfield in the social sciences. I am not here on this lovely Friday afternoon to talk to you all about survey methodology. What I am here to share with you is if you find yourself in this situation where you've looked at your numbers like I've been talking about, and it's one of my favorite things to do, and you notice something is going on and you need to find more information from maybe your customers, maybe your vendors, something like that, then there are three things that I would say are really important. I would say if you keep these in mind as you move forward, you're going to probably have a pretty good survey experience here going on. And the first one is, what is the absolute most important information that you need in order to answer these questions that you have, in order to give you a direction, to point you in that right direction to start addressing this problem or this challenge or this shortfall or something like that? What is it that you need to know that you can't get out of the data that you've already got? What information, once you've collected it, is the information that will let you answer that question and move on to the next stage, which would probably be starting to solve this problem by implementing something, right? So, first, I I realize this is a golden opportunity to collect all kinds of data from customers, and there are tons of things that you want to know. Do not go down that path. Keep it short. Keep it focused. I think this is even more important today than when I was first starting to learn about survey methodology and survey administration. Social media, the news cycle has just compressed and compressed our attention spans. Anything longer than a few questions, several questions, you are going to be running the risk of having people just say, I'm bored, I've got other things to do, and just leaving and not giving you any information at all. So keep it short, keep it focused, and keep it focused on just that information you need in order to take that next step, make that next decision so you can solve your problem. The second that I would say is, think through, how are you going to ask for the information? So here, I'll make a big distinction here. I'm talking about surveys that are the kind that we would fill out in the old days with pen and paper or something like that. Or now we click buttons on our computer, or we tap through buttons on our phones or something. I'm not talking about gathering information by doing focus groups or in person interviews, that sort of thing. Those are absolutely valid ways of, again, gathering that information from your customers. That's not what I'm talking today about. If there's enough interest among you, among the replay watchers, more than happy to talk about that kind of research, that branch of research, because that can be so illuminating also in its own way, and it can help to answer its own particular questions. But now I'm talking about a survey like you would think you were sent an email, you were sent in the mail, something like that. How are you going to ask for the information? So I think the first is to think about whether or not you can get the information you need by just having some sort of multiple choice question, or whether you need more kind of contextual, detailed information. So you're going to have more of an open ended question. Okay. So if we go open ended, then it's basically a text box, which you all have seen. You've probably filled out a lot of them. Text boxes that the respondent types in, and then you analyze it. Analysis is a whole lot easier if you can use some GPTs or something. I will point that out too. It can go a lot quicker, and I'll be talking about that as a use of some of these generative AI models in the coming weeks. But keep in mind that can significantly decrease the amount of time, which is the biggest barrier to doing those kind of open-ended questions or text analysis, that qualitative analysis. So think about, if you're going to have multiple choice questions, if you're going to have drop downs, right? If there's only going to be one able to be selected, Usually that's the case. If you're going to have check boxes where, again, the respondent can choose more than one. If you're going to have radio buttons, which are only one, so you're limiting their choices, right? Think about if you are going to use something like a feeling thermometer. How happy are you with X on a scale of 1 to 5? How would you rate this? For example, if we go back to BrewBright coffee, how much did you like the flavor of the drink that you purchased on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or something like that? Was it too sweet? Was it too bitter? Was it served too hot? Was your iced drink, maybe tasted watered down, right? So those sorts of things, you can use those on a scale of 1 to 5, of 1 to 4, 1 to 10. You can do that sort of thing. I will say also, beware when you are writing the words to your questions that you're not writing any double-barreled questions. And by what I mean by that is that's a term in the industry where you are asking about actually two or more different things in one question. So if you're doing that and you're asking someone a question like, how did you feel about the sweetness and the temperature of the beverage that you purchased on a scale of 1 to 5? Which one are they answering? Are they giving you information about the sweetness, or are they giving you information about the temperature? It was too hot, too cold, something like that. So, again, double barreled. Make sure each question is only asking about itself. You don't have multiple things in there because you're not going to be able to tease those out. And then I would also say think to your favorite crime and judicial system TV show or movie or something. Think about someone being cross-examined and objection. Counsel is leading the witness, where you're basically putting words into the respondent's mouth, right? Or nudging them towards the way that you want them to answer the question, something like that, leading the witness. So think about Law and Order. Think about, if you're of this generation, Perry Mason. Think about some of those and make sure that you're being as objective as you possibly can. You don't want to be leading your witness because, again, you might get some information that looks great, that makes you look great. Is it truthful, though? That's the thing. And if you can't trust it, then why even bother in the first place? And it's building a house on sand instead of granite here in the granite state. So, double barreled questions, leading the witness, stay away from those. There are a slew of other ones, of course, but those are the ones when I am brought in to assist with survey creation, survey design, that sort of thing. Those are the ones that typically clients inadvertently want me to do or something like that. And so my pushback is always no, we need to be as objective as possible, et cetera, et cetera. And that leads me to the third. So, how are you going to lead your respondent through the survey? So, think of this as through the lens of your potential respondent in the first place, right? Where are they coming from? If you're talking about one topic, then suddenly you're talking about a second, and then you jump back to the first, then you're off to a third. That's very confusing. And that's what I would call a heavy cognitive load on your potential respondent. And if they're confused, then their answers are not going to be quite as straightforward or quite as truthful. Not that they're lying, but if you've confused them, then they can't really answer the correct way, the way that they're really feeling, or the way that they really are understanding something. So think about sequencing your survey. What do you start with? What's in the middle? What's bringing up the rear? And you usually want to start with the questions that are the more important questions. And by important, I mean in order to answer your questions about BrewBright coffee, they want to know, why are we losing all of these customers? Those most important questions about that are going to go at the front. The ones that are really going to get at the core of understanding customer behavior and customer wants and needs, that BrewBright is then going to translate into implementing some changes, implementing new processes, a new menu, something like that. You want it at the front. You want to, if you've told your potential respondents that this is a survey about your recent experience with BrewBright coffee, and then you start off saying, what is your age group? How much is your income, your annual income? What is your education level? You're like, wait a minute, you want my time in the first place. And then you're not even asking me about this feedback that I'm willing to give you. You're asking me these like basic questions about me. Peace out. And they don't finish the survey at all. So ask the more important at the front end, leave those more kind of demographic questions, something like that, to the back end. It also protects you against survey fatigue. And what I mean protect is, again, the impetus for this survey is to get at that kernel of information that's going to help you plan out what you're going to do with your business. And it's typical behavior for survey takers to get tired, get bored, get interrupted by their children, by an email from their boss, and never quite come back. So if you've got their attention at the very beginning, ask the most important stuff, then peter off from there. And that's what I've got for you this Friday afternoon. I notice I've got a couple of people here watching. Hi, it's good to see you. I'm checking the chat. I'm not seeing any questions or any comments or anything. So I will leave it at that because it's Friday afternoon. Or some of my Australian and New Zealand friends, it is Saturday morning, and I'm sure you want to get started on your weekend. So, thank you so much again for joining me. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if this was helpful, if what I said was clear as water or clear as mud. I'd be happy to explain. Feel free to DM me or leave something in the comments, either here on LinkedIn or over on YouTube, and it will be my pleasure to respond to that. Are you at the point in your business where you would like to bring some data to your planning for 2024, but you're not quite sure where to start? I got you covered. Check out my short course called Fearless Forecasting. I will walk you through the basics of generating forecasts for your business, and you can find more information and sign up on my website at www.jlanalytics.com/fearless_forecasting. And with that, my friends, go forth and analyze.